Hello there, adventurers. Ben and Tabitha, and you're watching the Melic Adventures, a channel where we do... That's right, anything we want. If you're new to the channel, Mr. Astro will tell you to go subscribe. And if you're a returning member to the channel, Mr. Rocky says hello. As for everybody, make sure you like the video, subscribe, comment down below, and... right, share the video. We're bringing back something that kind of went off to the wayside that we kind of hinted to. But first, you can tell by the intro. Rah! As you saw the intro, which we have a different intro for a lot of things, it is story time with Ben. Yes, it is making a comeback. We told this last week, I believe, in one of the videos. I don't remember exactly when. It was this month, though. That story time with Ben is coming back, and we're going to be more diligent. When I say we, I mean more diligent in doing it. It's going to be the first Saturday of every month, and it kicks off with this video. So the next one will be, I think it's like the 5th or the 6th, whatever the first Saturday in January is. But it is Christmas Eve, and Danielle's not up here with me. Tabitha's here with me. But from all of us here, Danielle, me, the dogs, the cats, everybody, we wish you a happy holidays, whatever it is that you may celebrate. Today, Danielle and I are celebrating with watching Christmas movies and playing Mario Kart downstairs. So she's playing Mario Kart right now while I'm working on story time with Ben for today. The story that I've chosen is not a holiday. It's not Christmas related. It's not wintry. We got this book earlier this year. It's one of our favorite movies. I know we say we have a ton of favorite movies, but we really enjoy this one. And for being puppets and by Jim Henson, it's a pretty good one. I know Danielle's not a big fan of the Muppets, but she really loves this this movie, and so we're gonna read it. It's a version of the movie with a little bit of different backstory. It is Labyrinth, Goodnight King, or Goodnight Goblin King. Sorry. So let's go ahead and jump into the story. If you're new to Storytime with Ben, just a reminder, I will read it, show you the pages, read it, show you the pages, read it, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So let's enjoy Goodnight Goblin King. It's a little bit of a rhyming, so it might feel Dr. Seussy, but it's very, very well written. A magical world can be found quite close by, where creatures abound and stars sprinkle the sky. It holds a great maze lined with stones, traps, and moss. It's ruled by a king, one you don't want to cross. Within Jareth's castle, where the goblins creep, small Toby, that scamp, just refuses to sleep. The Goblin King's tired and rather perplexed. He has no idea what he ought to do next. But lucky for Jareth, old Beetleglum's near. His sweet nanny kept all the king's baby gear. The goblin watched Jareth when he was quite small. He'll help the king silence this loud caterwaul. The goblin tells Jareth when he was a boy, a fluffy stuffed chicken would bring him great joy. But when he was cranky and needed to rest, Beetleglum's stories worked on Jareth the best. The king thinks that's great, but what he'll do instead is tell baby Toby he must go to bed. The labyrinth's creatures are starting to dream, so Toby should too. That's enough with this scheme. And taking young Toby with him to his throne, the king crafts a cozy bedtime-friendly zone. He summons an orb, a fine magical ball, and conjures an image inside its glass wall. The first drowsy creature who's going to bed is Hoggle the dwarf with a cap on his head. He lives in a hollow tree outside the maze and winds down in somewhat unusual ways. Before little Hoggle turns in for the night, he must clear his home of the fairies that bite. And when his abode houses nary a pest, he curls up to sleep. Time to get some good rest. Good night, Hoggle. The worm lives inside of the labyrinth's walls, where comforts abound through his home's hallowed halls. From cookies to cuppas to goodnight kisses, his day's not complete till he's with his missus. Good night, worm. This makes Jareth think. Tea puts the worm to sleep. Could milk stop young Toby from making a peep? But Toby's immersed in the king's bedtime tale. The story is working. It stopped his loud wail. Now back in the labyrinth atop their chair, our wise man and hat go to bed with some flair. The avian headpiece curls round wise man's eyes, a sleep mask of sorts for the best of allies. Good night, wise man, and good night, hat. At sunset, the brick keeper's work is now done. They rearrange stones all day long, one by one. For the passer-by they so love to confuse. When someone gets lost, they turn in for a snooze. Good night, brick keepers. And deep in the obelisk, helping hands move. They flex and they wiggle in a rhythmic groove. Their dance is relaxing and stretching so deep. Might just be the reason these hands fall asleep. Good night, helping hands. And further along, a harmonious sound is soothing the creatures of the underground. The false alarms sing lullabies in soft tones. Who knew such fine music could come from these stones? Good night, false alarms. Still more of our maze dwellers head to their beds. Outside a large door, 4 fine guards rest their heads. Once they turn around in exactly 3 spins, they tuck themselves in, and the snoring begins. Good night, 4 guards. Not far from the guards, both the door knockers yawn. With darkness upon them, they'll sleep until dawn. They pose drowsy queries in one final round, when they try their best not to drool on the ground. Good night, door knockers. The loyal beast Ludo looks out for his friends. When nippers or goblins attack, he defends. But now that it's twilight, he calls on his rocks, surrounding his soft mossy bed with some stone blocks. Good night, Ludo. This makes Jareth pause. Perhaps sleep would come round if they had a wall that would block out all the sound. He summons his goblins, but while they all stand, the babe grabs the orb in his soft, chubby hand. The next of the labyrinth's creatures to rest, a staff-wielding knight in a red and blue vest. Sir Didymus lives by an honor-bound code. He guards the bridge, standing beside his abode. Lest he shirk his duties, he keeps watch all night. Ambrosius curls up at his feet rather tight. The brave knight shall not let no one pass for the eve. He'll doze on his feet, but he won't ever leave. Good night, Sir Didymus. Good night, Ambrosius. The flame-colored fieries are truly a sight. Their pre-bedtime rituals rather a fright. The fire burns on as they sing and they prance. The night's far too short to give up on their dance. But slowly and surely the embers die out. Their campfire dims as they give one last shout. And as they reflect on their night filled with fun, they curl up in balls and nod off one by one. Good night, fireys. And near Goblin City, Junk Lady awaits. She lives in the junkyard just outside the gates. She oversees rooms for those who walk the maze, and joins them inside for a curious gaze. Tonight she shows Toby his copycat room, and seeing this space pulls him out of his gloom. He waves at his lovelies, his crib and his rug. The king's plan is working, he feels rather smug. Good night, Junk Lady, but not Toby. Not yet. And in the tall castle where goblins reside, a number of creatures are quite occupied. They trim nails and brush teeth and even comb hair, all habits that Jareth refuses to share. And protector goblins keep watch nearby too. They're big and imposing, a rather tough crew. They subdue their nippers and sleep slumped upright. This way they can always be ready to fight. Good night, goblins. King Jareth's castle has goblins galore, and when they're all tired and ready to snore, they curl up on chickens, such fine feathered friends, which make for nice pillows until nighttime ends. Good night, chickens. As Jareth continues this fine bedtime plot, he looks down at Toby, and screaming he's not. With a great big yawn and a couple of sighs, the baby begins to rub his tired eyes. The moon is aglow and stars are shining bright. Now Jareth can tuck himself in for the night. He lays on his throne in his cap lined with fur, and orders all creatures around not to stir. The king's plan worked wonders, the babe gives a snore. One sweet rhythmic inhale soon turns into more. The goblin king's tired, his eyelids droop too. It's bedtime for Jareth, now how about you? Good night, Goblin King, and good night, Toby. If it wasn't the middle of the day, a sleep and a good night would be awesome to have. Maybe a nap, Christmas Eve nap. I hope you enjoyed our story. Remember to come back every first Saturday of the month for a new story time with Ben. Don't know what time, probably 6 o'clock in the morning like all of our other ones. But we heard you. You guys wanted it back. It's coming back. And if we can provide more, then we will. But until next time, friends, again, have a wonderful holidays. And whichever it is that you celebrate, I hope that you are able to do so with family and have a wonderful, relaxing time, as well as a great start to the new year. But until next time, make sure you stay safe, stay magical, and as always, keep reading. We'll see you on the next one.